I'm Jeff Hunt. He's Bill Thorpe. It's Wednesday.
I know. He only said Wednesday. I'm not any happier about it.
It's spicy today as we kicked off the debates with healthcare. I don't think Republicans and Democrats can solve it. And watching them on the Sunday shows, watching both sides try to figure this out, it's central planning at its worst. In either case, whether it's Democrats wanting Obamacare, whether it's Trump now wanting to send subsidies to you, it artificially inflates the market. And when you take away choice, when you take away transparency, and you start to fund the stuff with government, like everything else you see out there, whether it's affordable housing or education, the costs go up because there's no consequence to fail anymore. In a free market system, poor performance results in closure. It's part of the trade-off of a free market system. When you get out of that, when you see schools, for instance, government-run schools, right, poor performing. The city of Denver, 80% of middle schools kids, 8th grade kids in the city of Denver aren't proficient at math. But there's no consequence for that because it's the only system, right? Unless you want to explore charter schools, but then you get the complaint that all the high-performing kids are leaving, which they rightfully should. But when you have a system that's subsidized, controlled by the government, you lose transparency, you lose quality. And that happens across the board. And when I watch both Republicans and Democrats go, we got to have the solution. We got to come up with something for healthcare. It results in a collapse. That's what we're heading towards. Where am I wrong? Join the conversation at 303-696-1971 or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Let's go to Jeff and Golden. Good morning, Jeff. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Morning, guys.
So what's on your mind
Hello?
about
Good
healthcare?
morning.
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, healthcare. And just to talk about the point that Jeff was just talking about on the for schools, one thing that you do have to look at, Jeff, that you seem to overview or overlook on some of those, when they look at Denver test scores and stuff, and I bet the reason I'm saying this is because up in like Silverthorne, I saw that like the kids' scores are terrible, right? I mean, there's some of the worst scores in the country for like the scores up in Silverthorne, and you're talking about one of the most wealthy areas of our state, right? Well, why do you think the kids up there in those schools are doing so terrible in math and everything else? It's because they don't speak English mostly. You know what I mean? It's probably, you know what I mean? And that could be in Denver too. So those are hard studies to look at because we've brought on so many, non-speaking English non-speakers that sometimes those numbers are skewed. But anyway, I called for the healthcare part of it. Am I still on? Are you guys?
Oh,
can you hear me?
yeah, we got you. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, it was just really quiet. Okay. Anyway, wouldn't you agree on that though, Jeff? Like probably some of those numbers, like that. If you take that same set.
Yeah, in part, but also
Right.
I saw a fascinating study. I think this came out of The Economist recently that we're at near historic lows with regards to SAT levels, and yet our graduation rates are at 90%. So what happened with the education incentivization was we said, we're going to judge you based on your graduation rates. And so schools just started graduating people. Look, there's economics at every level of life, and economics is not about solutions. We're not going to solve the healthcare problem in America. We are going to have trade-offs. And the trade-off you will have under single payer is higher taxes and lower quality of care. Now, you could say, I will have better access, right? I'll be able to see a doctor and I won't have to pay, and everybody will be able to see a doctor. But what you will end up with, and I think you see it in other countries that have implemented this system, is you take away the incentives for improving quality, and you take away transparency. And when you take away transparency, especially with results to government spending, you end up with fraud. We see it in healthcare. You see it in what's happening in Minnesota. You see it what's happening in Denver when they try to take care of the homeless. There's no incentive. When the government steps up to pay, there's no incentive to actually reduce poverty, for instance, or get rid of homelessness. In fact, what you have is a system that's incentivized, again, trade-offs, incentivized to maintain homelessness so that they can get more money for the program. Whereas a free market
totally
system,
agree. That's obvious. You know, it is.
Like with Step Denver,
that's a long way to put.
Step Denver, for instance, doesn't take any money from the government. They are incentivized to improve people's lives because that's what donors want to see. So you actually end up with a system that works when you get the government out of it. Go ahead, Jeff.
I think a lot of this, and I'll tell you right now, Jeff, I think a lot of problem with Republicans. I mean, you're talking to a registered Democrat that probably hasn't voted Democrat in 2 decades, and I can't stand them, you know what I mean? But I'm a centrist. I would call myself a centrist. At least that's what the University of California, Santa Barbara called me, because I tested very middle. I come from a union, sheet metal family kind of a deal, but, went to liberal college, Anyway, we've got to get to the middle. You know what I mean? Like on this school, one way to get these grades up, what I think is like, okay, bring in plenty of people. Okay, if we need to bring in all these people, if they want to, okay, that doesn't bother me as much. What does bother me is that we don't aggressively assimilate these people. Like I would say, okay, there's a compromise, I think. Okay, everybody could come in, but if you can't pass, basic, then you have to stay at whatever, a camp or whatever you want to call it. But we need to supercharge the assimilation process, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like that would be, I would think like somewhat of a compromise. Like, okay, we can bring everybody in, but you can't stay here for 25 years and still don't speak English. I've seen this, you know what I mean? Like that's what's happening. Anyway, but what I called in about is the Nicaragua. I go surfing in Nicaragua very extensively, for the past decade. Okay, and when you surf, you get hurt. You know what I mean? You got to go to the doctor down there, and the doctor is an amazing experience. I love it. It's you go in and it's just I don't know. It's just amazing. And what I just kind of learned today, probably what I'm experiencing, is the private. They have 2 sides, and they have basically for like the places that I'm going and stuff like that. It is a private. It's private, Mark. You know what I mean? This is healthcare, and it is like it's her little practice. And I see the Nicaragua girl at the restaurant, and she's beautiful. And she's the doctor, and and it's awesome. They have everything you need, super cheap. And I would trust them. I seen her. My friend had to get 7 or 8 stitches in his head, and I sat there, and we all sat there, and I watched her put it in, and it was awesome. It was like super clean. It wasn't weird at all. But that was brought to you by the private market, I believe. They do have for their citizens, which are completely, have I'm sure their tax money is, we probably raise more tax money in Jefferson County than Nicaragua does. You know what I mean? But it is like a covered free healthcare or something. Like they don't leave people laying. Obviously, I don't know how all that works. I did not experience going to, let's say a doctor's office in town. You know what I mean? Like if I was to go to Managua or whatever, where you don't really hang out. I mean, I've never. It's not like El Salvador right now is changing. But
Jeff, what's at stake here is price and quality, right? Those are the 2 things that are most important when it comes to healthcare, right? And what we have currently with a system that's non-transparent is, and I heard this story the other day. I hear this all the time. Another example of this was they were going to bill me $10,000 for an MRI. I then negotiated down and paid them in cash, and it cost $1,200. So the MRI
$1,200. You paid $1,200.
No,
I just got an MRI.
Well, yeah, no, I'm
That's
using an
way
example.
too
It was
expensive.
something like that. But some MRIs, they're
But it
charging
is.
insurance
MRIs
companies
are like $250.
but they're charging it. But
$250.
the
I
point
just had
being,
one.
Jeff, they're charging insurance companies like $10,000. So then
Exactly.
that drives up all
Exactly.
the costs for the rest of us because we're not part of the negotiations. It's a negotiation between the provider and the healthcare system, and that is underwritten by government funds. So you're not a part of it. You're not a part of the negotiation on the price, and it's just going to continue to go up and up and up because there's no transparency there. Jeff, I appreciate it. We got to get now to the news.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Hey, good morning. It is Wednesday, 31 and mostly clear in Denver, expecting a high of 59 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, the Fed could announce an interest rate cut today, and DJT will start final interviews for the next Fed chair this week. He said, we're going to be looking at a couple of different people, but I have a pretty good idea of who I want. Former Fed Governor Kevin Warsh will reportedly interview with the president today. Other candidates include National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett. He'll meet with 47 in the coming days. Former Education Secretary Rod Page has passed away at the age of 92. He was the first black person to serve in the role. DJT hit the road to sell his economic agenda, launching a national tour with a rally style stop in Mount Pocono, PA. He told supporters his administration saved America, crediting tariffs for boosting U.S. manufacturing. He talked about jobs and the future and everything in between, including how much black people like him.
Let me tell you, black people love Trump. I got the biggest vote. I got the biggest vote with black people. They know a scam better than anybody. They know what it is to be scammed. Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. We did great. Thank you.
He also talked about immigration.
I've also announced a permanent pause on third world migration, including from hellholes like Afghanistan, Haiti, Somalia, and many other countries.
And jobs for Americans.
Before I entered office, 100% of all new net jobs were going to migrant workers. Think of that. 100% of new jobs were going to migrant. These are government numbers, by the way. These are not Trump numbers. These are government numbers. Because they say, well, did Trump come up with these numbers? No, I didn't come up. I'm just migrant workers and illegal aliens got 100%. But since I took office, 100% of all net job creation has gone to American citizens. How about that?
Amen. Aurora police searching for a man wearing red sweatpants and a black jacket riding a bicycle after a woman was shot in a parking lot in the 1100 block of South Havana near Mississippi. She suffered life-threatening injuries, was rushed to the hospital, and no update on her condition provided. 67-year-old Adams County Commander Carl Smalley, who served for over 3 decades with the agency, died on Monday. The office responded to a missing persons report and upon arrival found Commander Smalley near Box Elder Creek. They said he had just started the day and was on duty at the time, so his passing is being treated as a line of duty death. DJT is pardoning a Denver sports executive who was indicted for bid rigging. Tim Lewicki stepped down as CEO of the Denver-based Oakview Group after he was charged with conspiracy earlier this year. Federal investigators claim Lewicki conspired with a competitor to rig the bidding process for an arena at the University of Texas in Austin. The unconditional pardon will keep Lewicki from being tried in federal court in Texas. Lewicki faced up to 10 years in prison and a $1 million fine if convicted. All right, last night, here we go. I'm going to get everybody all mad at me here. Last night, Candace received shocking information from a veteran who allegedly saw a key member of Charlie's security team at a military base with top brass following a meeting. Allegedly, he saw this.
And at this point, he sees that the person that is with him, and he said, certain that the person that is with him is Brian Harple. Yeah. Okay. Oh, it's about to get even more interesting. So, and again, I'm going to say allegedly because I wasn't there, but I have spoken to this guy and I very much trust what he is saying. I think he is very credible. Okay. So he sees Brian Harple come out, this older guy, and he has, what then happens is first the guys that are checking him in are friendly. He explains to them, yeah, this is what happened to me. I just want to speak to somebody. They're like, yeah, let me help you.
And then they took him and basically held him for like 7 hours and interrogated him, I guess. So this is the head of security that was on Sean Ryan's show that he saw. Got caught in this little lie about drones at Utah Valley, and this veteran is willing to talk and has been basically shut down by the government for 35 years from talking about anything, and now he says he's willing to talk about this. So
and
we got
do we have
another
a name?
one. And his name, you know what,
we don't.
Jeff, I did.
There's
not
no
write it
name.
out, but
Well, there's
he
no
did.
name.
No,
He hasn't given his name.
She has his name. He had
Right,
to,
but he
had to
hasn't.
change his name. He had to change his name. So did you watch it?
No, I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done with Candace at this point. Like, you want to go, but golly, I'm going to get it from both sides today, you and Bill. All right.
Love it.
So
That just means
What
it's
happened
Wednesday.
with you and Bill? I was working. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's.
Did you guys get into it?
Well,
well,
no,
we end up. This is.
no way.
We often joke. There's moments where I want to throw my coffee cup through the window.
Yeah, that was one of them.
But there's actual truth to a little bit of that, and that was one of those moments. But
Yeah,
that's the core.
Let me just explain.
Is it a steel cup?
Sometimes, well, okay. There's a thing that it's been referred to that I personally get these moments where I am a pit bull, and what I do is I hang on to something and I don't let it go, and I will crush it. And
You're good
that's
at
what
that.
That's what happened, and it was not fair, and it was not nice on air, and so I was wrong, and I need to be much more respectful and much more agreeable to my partner, understanding when that happens.
I'm not looking for an apology. There's just moments where
you
we're
deserve it.
brothers, and I
Yeah.
feel like I want to give them a wedgie. So there you
Absolutely.
go.
But you deserve it, and I deserve all the frustrated feelings. Yes, and I needed to recognize that on the air that's what I did, and yeah, it was not the best thing for the show, nor the best thing for you or our relationship or anything at that point in time. So yeah. I stepped in it, and that's okay. I acknowledge
That's
that.
why there's a hallway and there's commercial breaks.
That's exactly
and
right.
glass between the two of us.
All
Yes.
right, but
And boxing gloves.
Now, Blake, you and I are. It's like three brothers. So
I know, this is so
all right.
fun.
So she hasn't given us
man.
anything. Again, I'm going to say this about Candace. It is like you take the tip line for any major crime and you just expose it to everybody. So
Right.
there's a reason why the police don't do that, because they get calls from people that are like, I heard a dog bark 3 times in Morse code. And clearly the dogs are all in on it. And that's what, like an average police officer is going to go, there's just crazy people out there. Not with Candace, it's just everything. Everything just gets exposed. So it would not surprise me if in a future episode, the dogs are speaking in Morse code and Candace Owens is trying to figure out their involvement in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It bounces around into whatever stupid lane she decides to take it. She's not credible, but what makes me angry is I think she's actively harming Turning Point at this point. which is a great institution that's trying to figure out what to do now in the wake of the loss of their leader, and they don't need this. And that's where I get frustrated. But
Yeah,
again, you don't have anything from Candace. There's no name. There's no person.
Well, she did mention his name. I just don't have it right now.
From what I've read in analysis of it, it was an alias name. It's not his real name. He had to change it.
He had to change it, yeah.
And then you have Candace talking about how she's actively being hunted by French special forces and goes out to a whole bunch of parties. I just don't buy it anymore. I'm sorry.
You don't think she should be able to go to the parties? Maybe she.
I don't think she's being actively hunted. If you're actively being hunted by French special forces that were able, the same team that was able to assassinate Charlie
I don't
Kirk,
think I would go to a party.
I don't think I'd be out at parties either.
I would agree with you there. Now, I don't know if she had any security or, security guys around her. I have no idea. Oh, that's a good point. I agree with that. It's an amazing story. That one was wild. It goes back to this guy helping, the government in 1990 with the Sinaloa cartel. And he discovered all this stuff, and then he had to change his name, he says, and he's had to be quiet. He hasn't been able to talk for 35 years about anything. He goes back to try to figure out the specifics and what happened, and he ends up being in a place, in a location. I find it this one very hard to believe. However, she's getting people from all around the world with these tips.
She's made herself this black hole of stupidity with regards to this. And it's just, she's going to get so many of these, and she's going to chase them down, and they're never going to go anywhere. She never promises or actually delivers anything on what she promises. I don't know, Blake. You need to spend time with her. But
I will watch today, and I'll have an update for you tomorrow.
Blake's taking one for the team.
Yeah, exactly. I do the dirty work, man. Let's see.
Has Brigitte Macron been proven to be a man yet?
Oh,
How
come
about
on.
that one?
We
How
know
about that
she
one?
is. Oh, come on.
Blake.
Come on.
Dude,
I know she's a freak.
Man. Yeah, she might be a freak. She's not
She's a freak.
dude.
I know she should be in jail. The Predators get by the Avalanche last night, 4-3. The final, the Avs are 21-2-7, and the Broncos back to work today as they get ready to take on the Packers and go for 11 straight. And hopefully we hear from Phillip Rivers today as he prepares to try to help the Colts. We'll see if he comes off the practice squad and is able to survive after the first practice today. He should be fine. 29 in Westminster, 30 in Littleton, 31 in Denver, and you're waking up with Jeff and Bill. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Other than some windy areas, and there will be plenty of wind along the Front Range and foothills and mountains over the next couple of days, we're going to be looking at mild, dry weather as all the significant weather stays to the north and east of us. Partly cloudy, windy at times, upper 50s and low 60s, low to mid 30s tonight. Mid to upper 50s Wednesday, near 40 Wednesday night. Temperatures will be 50s and 60s Thursday, trending a bit cooler for Friday and into the weekend, but the real cold stays away. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Let's get back to the phone lines. Jam-packed right now. As soon as we get done with the call, if you want to jump in on the conversation, you can. We hosted Jeff Crank on in the 6 o'clock hour, and I'm a big supporter of his. I'm a supporter of Gabe Evans, the whole Republic. I'm a Republican, and I want Republicans elected. That's just who I am. But he talked a little bit about how Republicans need to help and come up with an alternative plan for health care, and he and Bill both agreed. Republicans need to come up. Where has it been? 15 years. And I go, there's no role for government in this. In fact, all the problems that we have with cost, with lack of care, comes from the fact that the government has gotten involved and taken away transparency and taken away failure. Failure is really, really important in the free market system because it helps, at the end, benefit everybody because quality gets better. But like education, like housing, like anything else that the government funds, there's no incentive to improve or fail. You just kind of chug along to make sure you just continue to get government funding. So it reduces all of the benefits that come with the free market system. And part of that, the trade-off, is that sometimes you're going to end up with failure. But let's go to the phone lines. Chris Lakewood, good morning. Chris, you're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Morning, guys. I just wanted to touch on the healthcare thing. I think it's, I read somewhere, I'd like to compare it to the acquisition of Cold Stone ice cream. Private equity took it over, right? All the prices went up and everybody's all mad. I'm a huge fan of capitalism. Okay. I think a lot of people are. My mother-in-law bought and paid for a house in Europe, cleaning houses in New Jersey. So that's the good part. The bad part is when you have these companies who are more or less not regulated, and they're pumping up the numbers so they can charge or back charge these places of care. I think that's the issue that we need to somehow resolve. And I understand it's very nuanced, but I think it's pretty simple to me. Like, nobody wants to get a $600 bill in the mail for a simple blood panel, right? I mean,
yes.
So I don't know what you guys think of that, but I think there needs to be some sort of regulation. I know you're
Chris,
against that, Jeff.
well, I mean, not entirely, but Chris, you bring up a point that I want to turn over to Bill and get his thoughts on this. But you're exactly right, that in the sense that a private equity company with a healthcare insurance company is going to result in higher payments to a provider, in part because they know this whole system knows that the government will backfill it. So it's artificially inflated because they know that the money, it's the same thing that happened with education. Because I worked in a university. We knew that Pell Grants were going to come in. We knew that money for poor kids was going to come in. So we just increased and improved and drove up all the different services that the university provided because we knew at the end of the day that money was going to be there because the government was providing it. So that's why you get the explosion of these administrators. And you get this explosion of these administrators with healthcare too, because they know the money will continue to be there. The result, though, is that quality declines because you don't have to fight for it the way a small business owner does. Think of even a lemonade stand, right? If you have multiple competing lemonade stands, you have to provide better services at cheaper costs if you want to win the customers. But if you know the money's going to be there anyways, well, you're going to show up at 10 a.m. You'll provide substandard lemons. Who really needs to go analyze lemons at that point? And then the result is quality ends up declining across the board because you know that money will be there. Bill, what do you think of what Chris said?
Yeah, that's the issue that I've got that I think is part of the problem, Chris, is that when we get into the insurance realm, the idea of profit motive is flipped on its head. Now, we can argue that, Cold Stone makes more money based on providing a better experience, better quality, better, just doing the thing better in order to charge a premium. You can say the same thing about hospitals and doctors. But when you get into the realm of insurance, their motivation is to prevent you and I from using the care. That's how they make more money. And I think that gets into somewhat of a problem. And like you talk about some of those, basically the investment firms, there also gets to be, in my mind, somewhat of a problem in there when they get involved in healthcare because, again, they're looking for a return on their investment. They're not necessarily looking for the hospital to be profitable. They just want to make sure that their investment makes more money. And we've known back even since the 80s that sometimes the way that those large investment firms make money is by degrading the quality of what the business is and then chopping it up and selling off pieces, or just degrading the quality and keeping the prices where they are. That can be it as well because it increases the profit margin. So when we have private equity firms getting involved, I get a little skeptical because I don't believe that they are there for the core function of what you're looking at as far as the free market. I believe their core function is something on a different level where pieces of the free market don't work for them. And they're going to do what they can in order to maximize the return on their investment, not maximize the efficiency or the workings of that company or industry. That's kind of my opinion.
So what you're saying is that there's elements of capitalism that scam the government because they know they can, and that's the goal of capitalism is just,
not necessarily the goal, but yeah, the goal is to get it on top. I don't think the goal is to scam, but the goal is to make the money. And sometimes if that is the path of least resistance, absolutely. And we could look at scam the government or take advantage of things in different ways. We talked about regulations. We know that if there were some regulations that we rolled back, some of these companies would be perfectly happy dumping chemicals either in our backyards or in our water systems. And because it's easy for them. They don't care about it, and many of them don't live there.
I think what you end up with then is a system where you have control from two major entities. One being the insurance companies themselves who, to Bill's point, and he's right on this, that don't want you to use the service, right? Because then they have to pay out and it cuts into their profit margin. On the other end is the government, which gets its funding by taxing people and really doesn't track it. Has no motivation, no incentive to make sure that the quality is great. And in fact, if you even question whether or not the quality is good or whether or not the government should be involved in this, you're taking healthcare away from people. So what we're stuck with are consumers, people like you and me, that end up having to pay for it all. And the forces that would drive down the costs, which are transparency, accountability, and choice, are quickly disappearing. And the result is the quality is going to be bad. But Chris, I'll give you the final word.
Yeah, I think what needs to happen is there needs to be, the government is historically inefficient. We saw that with Doge. We saw how much money of our money, what's happening in Minnesota. It's just terrible all the way around. People's stock portfolio jumping up 42,000%, outpacing some of the richest people on earth who actually work for their money by innovation. Shout out to Elon Musk. I don't know where we go from here, but may God help us all.
Well, Chris, I appreciate it. I think we know exactly where to go. Unfortunately, what I've seen is a lot of the American people have gotten into, like, for instance, this text message from Suzanne. The doom loop of socialism. If the government doesn't provide it, well, then who does? And there's a famous conversation between Mikhail Gorbachev and Margaret Thatcher, where Gorbachev goes to Thatcher and says, well, if you're not planning and if you're not making determinations on how you're going to feed your people, how do you feed your people? Who's going to feed your people? Margaret Thatcher, if you're not the ones that are coming up with it. And Margaret Thatcher said, it's not my job to feed my people. That's the power of the free market. So you end up with this system where we believe that if the government doesn't provide health care, then somehow it won't. And it's been proven in other aspects of whether it's food, housing, education, that the government does a really, really bad job of doing it. But we're running down this pathway of believing that the only solution to healthcare out there is government. And that's going to end up being a problem for all of us. Chris, I appreciate it. Let's talk Chris. Advanced hair restoration. Guys, if you're losing your hair and desire to have it back, then Advanced Hair Restoration has the easiest guaranteed solution. Their simple one-day treatment offers life-changing results. I've seen it with my own eyes. Guys, it's not magic, but close to it. They put hair where you need it the most, and bam, it grows. It's actually science. Advanced Hair has it all. Top-rated Dr. Tanya Paul's modern technology. And best of all, you get your own natural hair that begins regrowing the very next day. Advanced Hair even guarantees it will grow for life. So schedule your free consultation now, 720-459-HAIR. 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver, and it's changed the lives of tens of thousands of people. So don't wait. Check out the before and afters online for yourself, 720-459-HAIR, 720-459-HAIR, or advancedhair.com, advancedhair.com. All right, let's get to, we got to get to our first break. We'll get to Barney next. You guys are listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Text messages, phone lines hot on this one. Healthcare is the issue. I wasn't expecting it to be this hot of an issue. I mean, we were going to talk about other things, but we're going to go with this because y'all are so fired up about it.
And I blame the fighting earlier.
Yeah.
If you missed it, check the
That
5
was in
o'clock
part.
hour.
There you go. Yeah, 6 o'clock
yeah.
hour.
Oh, 6, yeah.
So, look, Republicans, Democrats, both saying we got to come up with a fix for Obamacare and our health care. And my argument is that Obamacare made it worse because you have more government intervention and more funding that goes into it, less transparency and less accountability. And there's forces within the free market system that work it's like a web that end up pushing costs down. So, for instance, right, nobody can build a pencil. This is the economist, Morton, I'm totally forgetting his name. It's Wednesday. But
I don't know.
Freeman.
Milton Friedman.
Milton Friedman.
Milton Friedman, yeah.
Milton Friedman makes the argument that no one can build a pencil. And the idea that it costs 20 cents is wild, right? Because you need rubber trees down in South America, for instance, to form the little eraser. You need aluminum that's mined out of the ground. Then you need to chop down trees. You need to put graphite, which is also mined out of the ground. All together, the whole thing comes together from all parts of the world, and you buy it for 15 cents. Like, it's wild that that's the case, right? But then you look at an eye exam, for instance. I'll go in for an eye exam, that'll cost $350. Like, what? Why is that? Why does that dynamic take place? In part, from my perspective, is that it's that when you subsidize something from the government, you artificially force all the prices up because now what would have been a free market system competing and forcing prices down and quality up is the exact opposite. Quality goes down and prices go up because there's a steady stream of money that comes in from the government, and as a result, you don't have the forces of work that needs to take place in order to lower the cost. So let's go to Barney in Denver. Good morning, Barney. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Hey, Jeff and Bill. Billy, don't ever medicate, okay? Just stay the way you are. So if you have to throw coffee pots or cups at Jeff, just don't medicate. Stay the way you are.
Oh, thanks.
This is a free country. You can speak whatever damn language you want. You don't have to assimilate. You will suffer eventually. Your kids will suffer. But no, it is still America. We can do whatever we want. But first off, Jeff, there are no MRIs that cost $250. Maybe with insurance, but there are no MRIs that will cost $250. And just let me give an example where I can see both sides of the issue. So you walk in there for your MRI. I walk in there, mine are $1,000 out of pocket. But if it's with insurance, it's $3,500. But we're not talking about a full body MRI. We're talking about a liver, kidney, whatever. They chop you up. So by the same token, your clown doctor orders a full body MRI because there's something. Well, we can't say that. Let's just say your liver is an issue. So your quack doctor does a full body MRI at $10,000. Damn right the insurance companies has a right to refuse that because your doctor's a quack and he's trying to make money off of it. So there's too much money being made all the way around.
I agree.
The insurance company makes their big fat $1,100 a month off of you, and it's probably more than that if you've got a family. But they're also going to tell you, no, Jeff, you don't go to, you're not going to go in and get this, and this done because we don't think you need it. And it's just, but when you've got doctors are in on the game, but, going to doctors, I don't like them, but they're also paying a really high malpractice fee on their, malpractice insurance is through the roof.
Yeah.
So, and not to mention the guy went to school for 15 years or whatever the hell it is. Just saying, but I don't know, man. You're not going to fix it with politicians. That's for damn sure. And I would
Barney,
even go back
I agree
to
with
Dick
you on
Lamb.
that. Agree.
Okay, good.
I agree. It's not going to be politicians. But, Barney, you're doing a really good job of explaining the web that often drives prices, right? So the big two choices we have in our market economy is either we allow central planners to determine prices, or you allow the prices to be determined by that web of free markets that ends up with lots of different aspects that influence the price of something.
So going back to the MRI, can you imagine what that Joe Blow image in place, what their Excel energy bill is? Have you seen a CT scan or a MRI? I can't imagine the electricity it takes to run those machines. I'd be willing to bet it takes more to run a CT machine than an MRI machine. The bill for the electricity has got to be through the roof. So, but keep in mind, Jeff, your kid falls out of the tree, breaks his leg. You walk in and you pay for that cast, $600 to $800. Hell, it's more than that probably now. But you can also wheel and deal with the doctor. The doctor says to you, hey, I'm going to charge you $1,200. You're going to say, you're on crack, buddy. If you don't have insurance, that's exactly how you handle it. There are a lot of these doctors out there, and I go to one right now. It costs $300 for me and my ex-wife, really. And it's like a network. So she has all these customers, and I can see her any time of the month I want, which, of course, they're going to get, you can only do that so much. But going to blood work. If I go to Quest, and I'll name their name, if I walk into Quest and do a blood panel, it was $450. If I go to my doctor, it's $40. And I'm talking like the 10 panel, or it might even be the 20, I don't know. But the money, look, when you're not paying the bill, you, Jeff, you, Bill, me, somebody's going to make a ton of money off of the system that you're in. So, and you cannot, we don't need to compare it to schools or ice cream factories or anything else. The fact is, you are a clown. If you think paying $1,500 a month every month, I've done 20 years without health insurance. I don't expect you, Jeff and Bill, to pay for if I'm on my deathbed in a hospital and they're going to throw $1 million at me and I'm 65 years old. I'm just not going to do it. And that's why I go back to Dick Lamb. I think Dick Lamb had the right idea. If I'm 80 years old, you really don't need to give me a new prescription for my glasses every 6 months. I mean, we're all selfish little SOBs. Now, if you want to talk catastrophic, it actually anything to do with kids. If your kid has got something going on, and I say throw everything at it. Save that kid, but not me. Not 65-year-old angry white guy that's had his shot. Don't throw everything at me. Throw it at the kids, or throw it at the 35-year-old mother or the 40-year-old father. Don't throw them at the. There does come a point where you got to look at this from the Dick Lamb.
Yeah, I think there was I think there was a movie, Barney, where they took the old people and sent them into the woods to be eaten by the monsters. Maybe that's what we need to do.
Yeah, that's okay. Whatever. As long as I can take my 44 Magnum with me. By the way, could Blake Olson, he's going to sit there and listen to Candace Owens. Could he just call her up on that podcast and either just tell her to shut up or stop it or something, because she doesn't even take a breath when she's ranting and raving, and she bites her lip.
Yeah,
and
she does.
90 miles an hour of crap.
Here's something, Barney, that's going to twist your mind a little bit next time. When Candace Owens loads her stuff onto YouTube or somewhere else, go read the comments. That's a little spooky. I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah. No, you're exactly right. There's
spooky.
a lot of people that are all in on this.
Hey, thanks for the call,
Barney.
Barney.
That's a lot of fun. Always great to hear from Barney. All right, we'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Healthcare is the hot issue today. Let's go to Frank in Evergreen. Good morning, Frank. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Hey, good morning. I'd like to talk about the study that Billy cited, which is fundamentally flawed, and as most political studies are. We really, if it wasn't for our healthcare system, as bad as it is, actually, I'm talking the administration of it, not the actual service delivery. We'd be worse off than we are. The problem is the study doesn't account for 1/3 of our population being obese or morbidly obese. It also doesn't account for the number of traffic-related injuries and deaths. And if you subtract out those, do the Venn diagram like Camilla, if you subtract out those items, you would find that our healthcare system's cranking along just fine. But that doesn't mean it.
Those are taken into in that study.
Help.
That is taken into the idea of preventative care and lifestyle are taking into consideration in those studies and are part of the
Yeah,
equation.
it's not, Billy. It's not.
Yes, it is.
You're
Frank.
mistaken.
I'm sorry, Frank. I'm sorry, but when I'm looking at the studies, part of the way that they are judging the results are things like preventative care. And that would be things like obesity and lifestyle, and other things in lifestyle are covered in other studies as well. Yes, we do have poor lifestyle, but part of that also is preventative care.
The fundamental flaw in the population. They don't have a way of changing the population that they sample, namely American citizens, and there's no way of changing that fundamentally. The fact is, 1/3 of our population is morbidly obese or obese, and the solution for that is put down the bonbons, get off the couch, stop watching Oprah. And the solution for the traffic situation, the number of deaths and injuries in traffic in the highways, is to enforce the traffic laws. But nobody wants to talk about that. I agree we have a problem with our healthcare system, but it's more about our delivery is pretty darn good. I'm talking about service delivery by the providers. That's not the issue. The issue is, like you've been saying, it's the politicians, the healthcare companies, and the lack of the general population of America refusing to take personal responsibility for their own life.
Well, I see that, but that's taken into in some of the studies, et cetera, and we still spend more. And that's part of the issue as well with that, Frank. But I appreciate the call.
All right, we'll continue with the discussion and the debate, plus what's happening to Turning Point at CSU. We'll be covering it. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is KNUS.